Breaking news now from the News Now desk. We are getting reports of an active shooter at Mount Horeb Middle School. We have an update from the school district. They have been providing updates on their Facebook page within the last 20 minutes. They say a person with a gun did not get into the school. That school located on the 900 block of East Garfield Street. The district is on full lockdown right now, asking people to not come anywhere near the campus. So to give you the latest information, a post about 3 minutes ago from the Mount Horeb area school district says that the students will remain in a hard lockdown throughout all of the buildings. They are continuing to follow emergency protocols there, and that the Mount Horeb Police Department is on scene at the middle school to ensure the safety of students and staff. They have been, according to the school district, circulating throughout the building, throughout the middle school to confirm the safety of all of the students. This post goes on to say from the school district that the threat has been neutralized outside of the building. Again, this is due to an active shooter situation near Mount Horeb area middle school. They're asking people to stay away from the school grounds at this time. But once the school district can confirm the safety of all of the students, they say that they will begin that reunification process with families. So this is a developing situation, all happening within the last 30 minutes. We have a crew on the way to Mount Horeb right now to bring you the latest information, but you can stay up to date.
We begin with breaking news tonight from Mount Horeb. The community still searching for answers after an active shooter showed up near the middle school today, triggering a full lockdown. We received a new statement from the district just within the last hour. Superintendent Dr. Steve Salerno says, quote, "Community members, thank you for your continued patience and resilience during this afternoon's horrific event. Communication moving forward in the immediate term will take place through on-scene first responder personnel. In the interim, we are working to continue to ensure children are safe, comfortable, and fed." And that's important because some students have not been reunited with their parents just yet. Here's what we know about this incident. The suspected shooter showed up near the middle school armed with a rifle. Law enforcement have confirmed the suspect did not go inside the school. They added that the threat was neutralized around noon today. They say no one was injured in the incident other than the suspect. But that still leaves a lot of questions, including who this alleged gunman is and how everything unfolded this afternoon. We do know it was a very scary situation for parents today. We have team coverage tonight. Joining us now live from Mount Horeb, our WMTV's Elizabeth Wattis and Cameron Kelly. Let's first start with Elizabeth, who was first on scene today. And Elizabeth, you spent the majority of the day talking to parents when they didn't have the all clear just yet.
Yeah, Mark, we know now that no students or teachers inside the building were hurt during this, but when I showed up on scene shortly after it happened, we didn't know that. I was talking with parents and they were getting calls from their students on the inside. One saying, "Mom, I am scared."
So you guys are waiting for kids?
It was around like 11 o'clock where he called me crying, said that he heard multiple shots.
Emergency crews, police lights, law enforcement with their fingers on the trigger.
It's been pretty intense. It's really scary as a parent.
All rush in to protect the students inside from someone with a rifle, an active shooter.
To get a call when you're at work from your babies crying, saying that there's a shooting going on and we're scared and you're 30 minutes away from them.
We're here now.
Yeah.
Mount Horeb mother Brittany Rodriguez made contact with her two sons who she knows got away, but she stands looking onto the emergency scene with worried thoughts. What happened, and is her daughter okay?
One of my daughters are still inside of the middle school as we speak. But all we know is that there were some kids that went to shoot.
Getting that call and not knowing, like, you know, are they going to make it? Is this going to be our last phone call? It's hard.
It's a phone call from mom Melissa Alvarado's nightmares, too.
We're all just sitting there quiet.
And a call that's still ongoing for mom Alyssa Kupczynski, getting constant updates from her 12-year-old daughter from the inside of the middle school.
Well, I mean, there's just a bunch of police officers that kept knocking on the door because making sure it's barricaded.
Not something you think would ever happen to you, that you hear all of the time.
These three moms come to find out no students inside were hurt when the active shooter tried getting in. And they'll be reunited soon.
It's too close to home. Way too close to home.
It is home.
It is home. Yeah, it is home.
There aren't many days like this in south central Wisconsin as a school district had to face an active shooter. We've learned tonight the suspect is dead. Mount Horeb police officers shot and killed that gunman who was a student in the district. We also know he was never able to step foot inside that school, but we'll have more on that later. But first, we want to focus on what parents and students went through today. It had to be an unbelievable day for them. Let's get right out to Cameron Kelly. And Cameron, it was actually several hours between when the incident happened and when parents got to see their kids again.
Mark, it was an emotional day for families. Some parents waited up to 7 hours to see their kids. I was able to speak to one mom who recounted her day.
Are they okay? Did they get shot? Or anything, you know? It's very sad. It's scary. Yeah.
Mom of 5, Brittany Rodriguez, said her typical Wednesday became frightening very fast after she received a phone call from her oldest.
It was around 11 o'clock. My son called me and he was like, Mom, there's a shooting. And he's like, I'm running from the school. He was like, I don't know what to do.
After waiting for over 5 hours, Rodriguez was finally able to get her 2 kids from one of the lockdown locations.
It was relief. It was like, thank God. To actually see your child is physically okay, than just being heard that they're okay.
She says it's important that parents build close bonds with their children.
Everyone needs to love their children. You know, be there for them, talk to them, because you never know what's going through their mind.
Residents in the surrounding area say students in the Mount Horeb School District will forever remember May 1st.
They're going to need a lot of support, a lot of help. I'm sure the school district and the state and the village and the county are going to send in trauma specialists, but we as a village need to take responsibility to help these kids too.
There will be no school in the district tomorrow, but the school will be open for support for family and the students, and the superintendent says he hopes to be back in session on Friday. For now, reporting in Mount Horeb, Cameron Kelly, Wmtv 15 News.
Cameron, thank you. I can't imagine what that was like for parents today. So many times after incidents like this, we're left wondering what went wrong that led to this tragedy. Well, tonight, the district talked about what went right. The superintendent says the district and the community has taken steps to protect their students from school shooters, and today it worked.
This could have been a far worse tragedy.
Superintendent Dr. Steve Salerno made a point to thank the community for doing their part to keep their schools safe.
Had it not been for our community stepping up to the plate to help support capital and operational referendums that allowed us to install safety measures.
He says taxpayers voted to fund things like secure vestibules and locked front doors in schools that played a role in preventing the shooter from making it inside. So did staff, who during a terrifying moment followed their training.
Our secretaries, our administrative assistants are just worth their weight in gold. We have a system in place that before anyone can come into our schools, they must ring through a doorbell and state the nature of their business.
But it wasn't just the adults. Students who were outside when the gunman approached did what they could to make sure he didn't step foot inside.
Students who saw something happening when the individual approached the schoolhouse from the outside, those students were able to communicate immediately as to what they had seen.
Unfortunately, active shooter training is a new norm in schools. Mount Horeb showed just how important it is.
All of the training that we've provided to our students and staff played a pivotal role in protecting everybody's interests.
If you've been following our coverage throughout the day today, we spoke with a parent earlier who was talking to her daughter, still barricaded in the school, on the phone, waiting to reunite with her.
There's just a bunch of police officers that kept knocking on the door because making sure it was barricaded.
Not something you think would ever happen to you, that you hear all of the time.
Now, we are happy to report tonight, take a look at this. Macy and her mom are together again. They waited 7 hours for this moment.
This morning, a sign of hope and healing. A double rainbow was spotted over Mount Horeb. This photo taken by WMTV's photojournalist Kylie Jacobs just before 6 a.m. Mount Horeb's police chief also shared a similar photo on the department's Facebook page with a message cautioning the community. He says, quote, "For the sake of everyone involved, please do not spread rumors," end quote. The chief says the department understands there's limited information available and they're working quickly to move forward and to provide closure. How does a district move forward from a day like this? One day after an active shooter threat, the community in Mount Horeb is working towards healing. The superintendent there says that all starts today. WMTV's Mark McPherson joins us live from Mount Horeb with more.
Elizabeth, Superintendent Steve Salerno says he met right off the bat this morning with staff. They know they have to start getting ready right now if they're going to help the students that are affected. This is day one of what he thinks could be a long road.
Our focus is really on looking ahead.
Superintendent Steve Salerno made it clear where their focus is right now.
There's going to be plenty of time for us to look behind and assess the steps that we're taking, how we can improve them and make them better. But at this point, we feel like that's not the energy where we need to be.
The first step, meeting with staff.
We spend some time grieving, mourning, but also painting the next steps for us as a school district.
That includes training them to recognize the signs a student is struggling, which is different for every student.
A one-size-fits-all is not appropriate for the children.
When trauma exposure occurs, it impacts children differently based on their own unique circumstances and life experiences, as well as their proximity to certain events.
Next is helping students feel safe again. Salerno says one part of that is having at least one officer in each of their schools for the time being.
Obviously, to bring peace of mind for the community, to have additional officers looking, driving by and just checking in.
And finally, settling in for what could be a long road for some students.
Grief has no timeline. And so we want to do everything we can in order to be there of support for them.
Now, Salerno said today they don't anticipate things being back to normal by the end of the school year. In fact, the district has already started looking at what they can do over the summer to help students that are affected.
As Mount Horeb reflects on yesterday's active shooter threat, lawmakers are reflecting on tomorrow's prevention. Our State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson explains how the Office of School Safety is preparing for events like these.
Mount Horeb School District used funding from the Office of School Safety to prepare for emergencies like the shooting yesterday. But the funding to keep that office alive is at risk.
At the Office of School Safety, we prioritize prevention.
Mount Horeb received over $285,000 from the Office of School Safety, providing funding for training staff in emergencies and creating digital blueprints of the schools so police can quickly see a clear layout of the building.
If this doesn't prove the point to my colleagues that weren't so sure that we should keep this funding going, I don't know what will.
But the office was denied funding in the state's budget, receiving support only through the next school year via Republican Representative Todd Novak's legislation.
I'm going to be in a bowl in a china shop at the Capitol next year during the budget cycle.
Novak says prevention pays off.
It would be so nice to have the Office of School Safety never be used, but unfortunately, this is the environment we live in today's world.
And in the aftermath, we'll be okay. The Office of School Safety's director says they'll be there too.
We work hard to ensure that events do not happen that traumatize children, but when they do occur, we stand ready to support our schools here in Wisconsin.
Representative Novak tells me the director of the Office of School Safety is spending the day at Mount Horeb, providing psychological first aid training for staff so they're ready to support students when they come back to school. From Madison, Vanessa Kelson.
Vanessa, thank you. Resources are available to kids after a tragic event like yesterday's shooting. A behavioral specialist over at SSM Health tells us you shouldn't shy away from talking to your kids about an event like this.
Providing that opportunity and that space for your child to express how they're feeling, or even what they know about it or what they understand. We know as things get out there, sometimes there's rumors or misinformation. So it just provides a chance to hear from your child what they're at and what they're hearing.
Amy Bayer there says kids can read the room and it's okay for parents to acknowledge their feelings as well.
New information tonight out of Mount Horeb. The school district says there will be no school tomorrow. They will spend the day coaching staff on how to support kids as they come back to class on Monday. WMTV's Tyler Peters has been live outside the high school all afternoon. And Tyler, the community support continues to pour in.
I'm outside Mount Horeb High School, just down the road from the middle school. It's where the community gathered earlier today as they look to move forward together from the incident just over 24 hours ago. And now the Mount Horeb Chamber of Commerce is looking to offer its support too.
I think all of us were in the same situation where we couldn't believe what was going on.
There's been all kinds of emotion over the last 24 hours for the Mount Horeb community.
Everybody's hugging a lot and, taking time off work to be with their kids and holding them all close.
Now the Mount Horeb Chamber of Commerce is trying to help people heal.
Really, that's what we're trying to do now, is get the word out about that.
They're doing so by giving away free signs that will feature this logo. It features the Mount Horeb Area School District logo with a heart around it.
People who live here love it here. I mean, it just is a really unique place.
Community members will soon be able to pick up these signs and stake them into their yards. The Chamber of Commerce says it will help show how tight-knit the Mount Horeb community is.
To give people an opportunity to show their support, because I think sometimes you feel a little bit helpless, you don't know what you can do, and so this is just little things that you can do to show everybody that we care.
These signs, part of a recovery process for students, parents, and staff alike.
Grief has no timeline, and so we want to do everything we can in order to be there of support for them.
While the signs are free, you do have the option to donate when ordering one. To get your own, you can visit MountHorebChamber.com. Again, that's MountHorebChamber.com. For now, in Mount Horeb, Tyler Peters, WMTV 15 News. One parent I spoke with is still trying to recover from what happened back on Wednesday.
You had just said there's police and fire and ambulances everywhere.
This is what Katie Burns' son texted her in the midst of Wednesday's active shooter threat. While Katie's son and her other two kids weren't inside the middle school when the incident happened,
your first instinct is just to go to your children and run as fast as you can.
The emotions were flying high as she waited to reunite with her kids.
You're just kind of stuck in this purgatory of waiting, and you're getting very limited information.
Now back together with her kids, Burns says she's grateful they're all okay.
Healing will not be linear in any sense of the word. It's going to be very complicated and it's going to be messy. And I think, gratitude is going to go a long way.
Burns says it's important now for the community to move forward together.
I love this community. I am so immensely grateful for all of our teachers, support staff. I mean, they really kept calm and took such amazing care of our children under some of the worst circumstances.
Thank you for joining us at 10. I'm Cameron Kelly. New tonight, the Wisconsin Department of Justice has released new information on the active shooter incident outside Mount Horeb Middle School. We now know the suspect was pointing a pellet gun at police before being shot to death. Again, this incident happened back on Wednesday. The DOJ says a witness first reported someone heading towards the middle school with a gun just after 11 a.m., and that's when Mount Horeb police responded. Police found the person near the main entrance of the school. Officers told the suspect to drop his gun. The DOJ says the suspect did not comply, and he pointed his weapon at police. Officers opened fire and shot the suspect. Police tried to perform life-saving measures, but the suspect died on scene. The weapon that was found was a Ruger .177 caliber pellet rifle. Again, no one else was hurt, and officers involved are on administrative leave.
That's what students drew for sidewalk chalk art project today in front of the middle school leading up to the entrance, trying to make it feel as welcoming as possible.
We've just been there for each other.
Mount Horeb middle schoolers Macy Mikulski and Lachlan Berge haven't left each other's sides since being locked down in their classroom on Wednesday when one student tried bringing a pellet gun into the building.
We were together when the whole thing happened, and we've hung out like every day since it happened too, so we've been together like the whole time.
The two students drew sidewalk chalk art at the school's entry to try and help others feel as at ease as they possibly can when school is back in session on Monday.
Yeah, they're holding one another pretty tight right now. They were next to each other the entire time that happened, and the sleepover last night, and I guess tonight. So. Yeah. And how do you say no?
Mikulski and Berge's moms are proud of the way their daughters have handled the hard situation.
I think they're most sad that they did lose a student. They did lose a fellow student, and they're just really trying to understand why.
Both parents say it's been emotionally draining.
It's something I think is going to sit with them and carry with them for forever.
For the girls, as long as they have each other, they say they're ready to resume some sense of normalcy.
We're just going to try and support each other and try like to just stick together like with everyone and like just kind of like heal together.
The school district says they'll focus on healing tomorrow, not their regularly scheduled classes, and they'll have therapy dogs on hand.
Teachers and students are back in the classroom for the first time after a student was shot and killed by police outside of the middle school last week. We have live team coverage from outside the school. WMTV's Gabriella Rusk joins us now live from Mount Horeb. And Gabriella, you spoke one-on-one with the district superintendent about how students and staff are going about this difficult day.
Yeah, Tim, Dr. Steve Salerno used the word resilient to describe the students and staff as they returned here to school just a few hours ago. And in fact, I can see some students right now at the elementary school enjoying recess and enjoying this beautiful day as they are trying to process the difficult emotions. And Dr. Salerno also told me that they worked really hard last week, the staff, to prepare for today, having conversations amongst themselves about setting the tone for this morning's return. And he says this will really be a long road ahead, but they're just going to take things day by day.
Today is an important day, and that we get back into the procedures and routines of going to school and fellowship with their classmates and learning. And I suspect that every day is going to get just a little bit better. Our legs are going to get stronger, and we're going to continue to blaze new trails as this district has always done.
And this week has been full of emotions for the Mount Horeb community as a whole, especially today as those kids started school back up. And earlier today, I was actually able to stop into an O'Reilly Auto Parts just a couple blocks away from here, where some students actually took shelter during the lockdown. Some students that were outside and were not inside the building at that time. There I spoke with staff members that were inside that auto parts store the moment that those kids came running for help. And they were telling me how that they kept them calm.
Came in and got told that there was an active shooter, and I'm like, okay, take my next steps that I need to take.
I think they felt a little better because they knew, we weren't going to let anybody come in here. And so we went and locked the doors right away and, want to keep them safe.
The staff at O'Reilly's tells me that it's been a difficult few days because they never expected something like this to happen right here in their hometown of Mount Horeb, but they said that there wasn't any doubt in that moment what their steps were to take to keep those kids safe.
With it being my hometown, I feel like I need to do something. I need to give back in some way. So knowing that we have these animals that are trained to provide tasks that'll mitigate these kinds of issues, it feels very important to do.
Alex Hazlett says walking into his old school is different now. He and Custom Canine Service dogs want to make a difference.
You can kind of feel a little bit of heaviness when you walk in, a lot of heaviness, but seeing kind of people swarm the dogs, you can kind of feel it lighten up just a little bit more.
17-month-old golden retriever Violet is trained to interrupt distressed behavior like crying and shaking by nuzzling up to someone who's experiencing trauma.
A lot of these students, staff, first responders, community members, they need that. They need that input, that interruption.
It's short-term relief for now, but Hazlett and school officials say they'll be available anytime students need.
If it's tomorrow, we'll be able to provide additional support. If it's in 2 weeks, the last week of school, or even throughout the summer, we're here to support the students' needs.
For Hazlett, it's about helping his hometown through this hard time.
I'm just grateful we could do something.
No charges filed. That decision from the Dane County District Attorney this afternoon when it comes to a deadly shooting of a student. It happened back on May 1st in between Mount Horeb Middle and High School buildings. WMTV's Elizabeth Wadis was first on the scene when the shooting happened. Elizabeth, we have new video from that day just into our newsroom.
Lee, we want to warn you at home, the video we're about to share may be hard to watch, but we feel it's important to show what happened that day since there have been many questions about it. So in the next clip, you'll see the student going door to door around the school holding what police seem to think was a real rifle. Take a look here. You can actually see the student. He's going to bang on the doors outside of the school with a gun, waving at someone, and then he jumps over that fence there. Ultimately, the police fatally shoot the student who was in 8th grade. DCI investigators later found out that gun that he was holding, you see there, was it's actually a BB gun. But from audio from officers that day we just heard, it is clear they did not think it was a toy. Now, the student never did get inside the school. No one else was hurt. And again, the officers who shot their guns will not be charged. We just learned that this afternoon.
We looked through multiple surveillance videos and body camera video released by the DOJ showing exactly what happened that day.
We want to warn you, the video we're about to share may be hard to watch, but we feel it's important to show what happened that day. Take a look. There are multiple surveillance and police cameras on that day. Some show the student carrying what looks like a rifle. He walks around the school, approaching several doors, even trying to break the window on one. In one clip, someone appears to close the doors just before the student gets to it. In another part of town, police get the call.
We have people running from the Mount Horeb Middle School now, said there was an active shooter response.
As the officer drives, police prepare for an active shooter.
Let's get EMS started.
The first officer to make contact outside the school appears to approach the student, then backs away as the student appears to follow him around the car. Another officer arrives on scene and orders him to drop the weapon.
Drop it!
A third officer also arrives as they're giving the order to drop the rifle. That's when they open fire. At least 3 officers fired their weapons.
Drop it!
The student is seen falling and getting back up twice, moving towards the officers.
Suspect still moving on the ground with the rifle.
After falling a third time, it's over.
The subject is down. Officers are okay.
And new at 6, we're also learning more about the evidence agents collected from the teen's home and backpack. And this may also be hard to hear and process. But again, we're sharing some of these details because it helps to give context and in this case speaks to the teen's state of mind. First, a photo of the wall in his bedroom. You can see the teen wrote in black marker to police saying, quote, "To the officer that has to shoot me, I'm sorry. It is not your fault." Officers found notebooks with handwritten notes, including one where he wrote, quote, "Don't follow my destructive path. Please forgive me." Officers also discovered multiple items in his backpack, including a box of long rifle ammunition and a Molotov cocktail with uranium. Now, the notes also referenced his plans. At one point, he called it an attack and also wrote about going to the high school afterwards. This is just a snapshot from the 1,600-page report and all of those digital videos and photos released today by the DOJ.
Signs like these are still standing since May, a symbol of how the community came together. Mount Horeb resident Mitzi Forbes says that day at the middle school is not about blame.
So I don't blame his family. I don't blame him. I don't blame the officers. It was just a really sad situation that I wish we had been more aware.
It's about prevention.
I think we need to look at mental health of the children, keep a good eye on them, provide interventions as quickly as possible.
And she hopes the community will continue to promote unity, support, and mental health resources beyond the signs that already stand.
The officers, if they need therapy, get therapy. Don't feel bad. You were doing your best. The kids, you did your best. The teachers and the faculty, you did your best. To the parents, I'm sorry. I wish I was there for the child before he reached this. I think many of us in the community wish we'd been there for the kid.
Mount Horeb schools are back in session in 3 weeks, and the district says that they are making an effort with the community to provide comprehensive support through the 2024-2025 school year. In studio, Tabitha Bland, WMTV 15 News.
Tabitha, thank you. The Mount Horeb Police Department put out a statement saying they're proud of the response to the events that happened that day. They say this decision marks a step towards healing in the community. The police said they would like to offer support or sympathy to anyone struggling, and they will work in collaboration with the school district. The school district posted a statement this afternoon. It says in part, Mount Horeb Area School District remains deeply committed to the well-being of our students, staff, and community. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our dedicated staff, supportive families, and the resilience of our students. The district also says support will continue for students and staff during the next school year.